attention to number 5, which is approval of the agenda, and I'd like a mover, please, that the agenda be adopted as circulated. So moved by Councillor St. Pierre and seconded by Councillor Pearson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. We have meeting minutes here for adoption. November 28th, regular meeting, December 5th, special council meeting, December 12th, regular meeting, and January the 5th, 2023, special council meeting for adoption. Councillor Bateman is moving adoption, seconded by Councillor St. Pierre. Questions or corrections, please, Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, I just have the one on page 3 of the November 28th meeting, and that's the motion at the top of the page. That's on page 7 of the agenda. And the third line reads, and this relates to the Brownsea Boulevard project, states to allow 2-story residential buildings with ground floor commercial. So I think the language should be 2 6-story residential buildings, if I correctly interpreted that
Yes.
application.
Staff, did you catch that? Okay, thank you. Anything else, Councillor Bateman?
No, that's it.
There's just one that I have, and I caught it somewhere in here. It had to do with the Santa Claus parade, and Claus had an E on the end of it. Klaus. But I marked it on a different iPad. So if we could just search for that, maybe it's December 12th. It's under the council verbal reports. There's just an E that should be struck. So otherwise, I'll deem that both of those are in order. So the minutes will be amended accordingly for the record. Okay, all those in favor, please. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so this brings us to item 7, which is our delegation section of tonight's agenda. Our procedural bylaw allows up to 5 minutes for 2 delegations, so a total of 10. So we have 2 delegations tonight. So within the delegations, I'll invite you forward in turn. Please turn on your microphone and introduce yourself. And then our staff will start the timer, which you have 5 minutes. Following the delegation, should council wish to ask for further clarity, it'll be on council to provide a notice of motion into the record so that we can then determine as a council together if we wish to further explore that concept or whatever it is you're presenting. It's not here for questions back and forth, further discussion and so forth, because we do have an order of other items that need to come forward as well. So the first one is 7.1. It's called Pedestrian Safety During Winter Weather Events, a presentation by Mr. Nick Dickinson-Wild. So come on up, please, and please turn on the microphone. Thank you for being with us today.
Nick Dickinson-Wild. So I had sent in slides with exact verbiage for the wording of some of the council bylaws that I'm going to be referencing, but they're unimportant to the actual substance of my conversation. So I ask for leniency in wording here. So on December 20th last year, we had a fairly significant snow for our region anyways. Personally, I was lucky enough that I could stay at home and work from home and hang out with family. I came into downtown Souk on the 24th, aka 4 full days later. At that point, the first thing I saw coming into downtown, approaching the traffic circle, was an old man with a walker struggling to get over a significant snow bump at the crosswalk. To me, this is not really acceptable. We have bylaw 67, 16.1, which specifies that businesses and homeowners have to clear sidewalks within 24 hours of a snowfall. There was no more significant snowfall in those 4 days. However, there's multiple complexities for this, specifically for Souk, in that Highway 14 is Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. So I acknowledge that not all of it is within Souk's ability to control. That said, I see that we basically have three problems that lead to the same thing, which is total lack of accessibility and safety for elders, people with children in strollers, and for people with temporary mobility issues or permanent mobility issues, regardless of age. They are in order, what I feel is ease of changing in the short term, the not exactly sidewalks, but public spaces that are sidewalk-like, such as the meridians and traffic triangles on Townsend Road, for example, which were 100% blocked and inaccessible. I feel that this should be covered by the contract with Victoria Contracting. I don't have access to the details of that contract, so I can't say whether it is or is not currently covered. Regardless of whether it's covered or not, I would like to ask that council works to ensure that it is either covered or that it is followed through on, because 4 days is too long. Second, we have the just general sidewalks of all businesses in Souk downtown. We don't have many sidewalks. We should have the ones that we have at least clear. I did have a question. Was there any fines or warnings levied in the snow event? I don't know if I can ask that of council. Good. Well, then I would ask that council in some way directs staff to ensure that there is education or fines levied for bylaw 67, item 16.1. And third, some of the highway infrastructure, such as the crosswalk at the bus stop, for example, the meridian in between the highway directions is clearly Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure control. I would ask that council works with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transportation to ensure that that is also cleared. Ideally, to me, these are all short-term fixes. Long-term, as a society, we treat sidewalks as a public good when it comes to making them. And then immediately after they're built, we treat them as private good. And this leads to lack of accessibility, lack of safety. And I feel that it would be much, much better to treat this as a public good, which is what it is. So in the long term, I would ask that Souk finds a way to either include it as a line item in current contract or a new contract or within a Souk Public Works Department and move it to a public good based on taxes instead of per person. And then if one person doesn't clear their store, the whole block is inaccessible. Thank you.
Thank you for presenting with us tonight. And if you like, feel free to maybe follow up with staff if you'd like us to see the PowerPoint. They'll get it to us at some point. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Our next delegation tonight, support for moorage request, Mr. Philip Ney from Horizons Unbound Rehabilitation and Training Society. Come on up, please. Sorry, sir, if you could have a seat and turn on the microphone, that way we can all hear you. And we're also webcasting, so this way the good folks at home that are viewing will also get the benefit of your presentation.
Well, my hearing isn't good, so you can show it.
And we just need you to turn on the microphone.
Well, I didn't ask for it. Anyhow.
There we go.
Starting? Oh my gosh. Anyhow, I'm Philip Ney. Some of you people know me. I am a long-term physician, 62 years in practice, and I still didn't get it right. But I keep trying. And I'm really, really worried about the current situation regarding young people and drugs. I practice in 4 countries. I'm a professor And I have lots of credentials. And I've got the evidence in that published. I've got a long list of publications. I'm a peer reviewer, and I can show you that what I propose does work. So I'm not talking about the moon. Anyhow, if you look at your piece of paper there on the top side, you will see that the increase in the problem is magnificent. And in the second graph, what you'll see is the amount of lethal phenytoin. Phenytoin has a modification, and it is lethal. It is taken in a small amount. Now, the problem is the young people don't necessarily go straight to phenytoin. But if you've ever had a phenytoin anesthetic, you'll know it's wonderful. It just feels good. And you're glad somebody's controlling this because you may want to keep on taking it. Well, the young people, of course, take it and it feels good. But the problem is they get involved in drug treatment programs that don't work. And so they give up. They become depressed. And then they go, what the hell? And you can't really deal with this. There is no antidote. So they die. And this shows you that, interestingly enough, Souk has the highest rate in the whole province. And you say, it can't be. I mean, we're all gentle people and reasonable and all that, but these are the statistics. And so what would you do if you were in my shoes? You would try to put together a program where the kids are properly treated, but they can't get their stuff. Because any institutional program, any in the bush program, they get it. And they keep on being, but at sea, they can't get it. And so being at sea is actually the only way you can treat these kids. And so we are proposing this program. And like I say, I've got evidence from the programs I've run in hospital that I know what I'm talking about. I can, not guarantee, but we can appeal to people. So a lady phones up from Perth. Remember where Perth is? Just about as far away as you can get. And she says, I understand you got a program for drug-affected children, youth. And I say, yeah. And she says, I will mortgage my house to get my child treated. And the thing about this, of course, is that many of these kids have wealthy parents who are spending their lives making it. And they lose track of their kids. And then you say, hey, you got a drug addicted kid. Oh my gosh, really? How much is it going to cost? What would you say? I say $10,000. I say, oh my, I don't intend to make money at this. This is a non-profit society, but we can afford to charge high amounts. And the parents, particularly the fathers, say, oh my gosh, what can I do? And I say, money. He says, I understand money, and it's going to cost you, Dad. And he says, that's fine. I got lots of money, and I deserve this. The problem has been we don't get a chance because we haven't got a wharf. And the mayor knows, I've been here before when I was much younger, of course. I'm not the only person that ages a little bit. But the fact is there is a wharf right down here where there is space now. But I can't get in there. And it's just plain prejudice. Nobody wants to touch these drug addicted kids. They're lepers. So don't come near me, I'll catch it. Well, I can assure you, you don't catch it. After 62 years in practice, I didn't catch it. So it can't be that terrible. And so I have a proposal. And the mayor looks at me askance.
Well, it's just, we're out of time, Dr. Ney. So I understand that you do have can you send us something in writing that just itemizes your request, and then we can touch base that way. All the correspondence comes through to council in that way.
Yeah, you see, I only got about half of that. Anyhow, 2 sentences. I propose that the mayor and council Suk takes one of those spaces for themselves. That's for Suk. And Suk and mayor will decide where it should go. That is the only way I can get in there. And it's prejudice. People don't like these kids. Oh, I don't want to get in. I mean, there are spaces in this town and everybody says the same thing. I don't want to get touched with this. It's contagious. And I don't want my children. Anyhow, if the mayor and council, oh, by the way, I write books, and this was a book, How to Die. And it's only available to people who are going to die.
Okay. I suppose it's reasonable that we're all dying at some point.
Can I, somebody,
Thank you, Dr. Nate.
oh, is this, that one, like this?
Well, no, not quite, but
Oh,
But
I've been
thank
in the
you.
media enough. Anyhow, anybody who's going to die right away, I'll give them this book. Who's going to die first?
I don't think that's a question I want anyone to answer. But thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. And just council, bear with me. I just need to, okay, here we go. Item 8, please, is the report of our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Schaefer.
Nothing this evening, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Happy New Year to you too. Number 9, public question and comment period. So this here is for members of the public that are here tonight. There's 2 minutes for speaker for items on tonight's agenda. This is the only time in the meeting where members of the public can speak on items, as most of you probably already know. Hello, Ms. Lurs.
The presentations?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to add to the present. Oh, pardon me? Who my name is? What my name is? Oh, yeah. Ellen Lures, I haven't been here for a while. Ellen Lures, Casinos. I just wanted, because Mr. Wild was talking about the snow, et cetera. I just wanted to bring up again, I did send an email to everybody, but when that snow happened, which it does, snows here, there was no snow removal on Otter Point. There's no snow removal on Church Road to the main roads in Suk, and there was no snow removal around our emergency center, which is Suk Community Hall. And that was pretty pathetic, and I think that has to be looked at. There needs to be a line. These are the things that have to be cleared first off. And that should be first off, and it wasn't, because I went to community hall to drop off something to food bank there, and it wasn't plowed. Nothing was plowed. So and that was the next day. So that's not good. So I just wanted to address that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to item 10, which is our consent agenda. The one item there is the correspondence block. So the agenda or the item would be that item 10.1 be adopted by general consent. It's moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor McMath. I'll ask, is there any items that council wishes to extract from this block? Councillor St. Pierre, and then that would. Okay, so no. Right? Okay, not withdrawing. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. We're into our bylaw section next, item 11. So 11.1 is that council adopt the bylaw cited as Traffic and Highways Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 872-67-05-2022. It's moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Lajeunesse. Thank you. All those in favor, please. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. 11.2. So just for anyone viewing, these have all gone through the readings, and now we're at the step where we're adopting them. So there has been public input in the readings and council discussion at previous meetings. 11.2, official community plan amendment bylaw. That is that council adopt the bylaw cited as official community plan amendment bylaw number 400-16-2022. It's moved by Counselor Bateman and seconded by Counselor McMath. All those in favor, please. Oh, you had a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So we were awaiting Agricultural Land Commission clearance on this, and we received that. And are we to anticipate the next step with this, a rezoning application to follow?
Mr. Paolo, are you able to answer that? Thank you.
Yeah, yes, I am. So this is of course the first step in multiple steps towards considering development on the property. A rezoning application is under review, and so at some time in the future, that can now proceed to council once the review has been completed, given this adoption tonight and the exclusion, which the ALC did confirm today. Everything has been addressed with their record keeping as well, so that exclusion should now be taken care of on in any of their future mapping.
Okay, that's good. All right. Thank you. All those in favor, please. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Next up, 12 is new business. Is there any new business? None that I'm aware of. No. Okay. 13, correspondence requiring action. So 13.1 has been requested for discussion by Counselor Bateman. So over to you, Counselor Bateman.
Yeah, so speaking of the Agricultural Land Commission, here is a letter from the chair, Jennifer Dyson, offering to make a presentation to council across councils across BC. So I think we should request a presentation. She spoke to us in early 2019. It was a fascinating evening, and I'd love to hear from her again.
Okay, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like
please?
to move that council direct staff to contact the Agricultural Land Commission and request a
Presentation.
presentation. That's the word.
Okay, seconded by Counselor Pearson. Would anything further to motivate? Okay, Counselor Pearson. Others? Counselor St. Pierre in the microphone.
I've been involved with discussions with the ALC and with the provincial government, the Ministry of Agriculture for some time. I think there's actually some developments with the ALC that Jennifer Dyson can probably bring us up to date with. I think there's a lot that's been going on, and I think it's going to be extremely useful conversation.
That'd be good. Thank you for bringing that up. Anything else? No. I'll call a question. All in favor, please. And that's unanimous. Thank you. So staff will follow up, and when we have a meeting date and time secured, we'll let you know when that is. Because this invite is going out to all municipal councils, so we just need to get our name in the queue. Okay. Or our district, our community, our local government. Number 14, council verbal reports. Counselor Bateman.
Okay. Yeah, I'm learning about notices of motion and how best to address delegations as they arise. So that'll be something for my further learning. Because I did have questions arising from both those delegations. However, protocols and our procedure bylaws, could you refresh on that for me?
Okay, so we receive a delegation. This meeting agenda is quite light, right? So it may be, why aren't we doing X? Well, because process is our friend, and that's what keeps us from, that keeps us consistent doing our pieces. So in other meeting agendas, we've looked at them and went, wow, that's a lot of stuff. Are we going to get through this? We also have others that have been waiting for their time to get in front of council. So a delegation, as you know, always advances to the front. So if you're near the bottom and you've been waiting months to be heard, you finally have your time and you're seeing your time push down. So the intent of a delegation is, okay, here's something I need to bring forward to council. Maybe a letter has been sent and maybe it went to me, maybe it didn't hit everybody else, or maybe as we know, we have some that like really the decisions we make are made together. It's not just Maya, the mayor, making decisions. It's all of us together taking all of this. So we all benefit as well as the public from hearing from the delegation. So that's where we have an allotted time. From there, in the event that you have further follow-up, then this is where I would encourage you as a counselor to reach out to the presenter and say, I have some questions I would like some more clarity on, and to take that upon yourself to learn more about X, Y, or Z. And then you could introduce a notice of motion and say, you know, council further to the meeting on this date. I've done some more, you know, I really think this is something we need to move on. Then we together as a council could say, okay, we have these as a priorities. We have this much capacity with staff. Perhaps we can ask staff the question, do you have room for this? Do we have budget for this? If not, what are we going to drop? What are we going to take away to advance X? Maybe sometimes it's more just an awareness piece in terms of snow removal. We're moving into budget discussions that will be held publicly, and we'll get a sense of, okay, what are our actuals? Where do we need to add more? What have we done? In the years that I've sat here, it's been kind of hit and miss, right? In terms of how much budget. Sometimes we've had more ice and rain than snow, and last year we got it early, a lot of it, potentially have more coming. If extreme weather events are the norm, then maybe we need to start building budgets and reserves in certain places to deliver X. But ultimately, democratically, we'll decide if we feel that's where we want our funding to go. Some years past, no, snow clearing wasn't a priority. Other times, yes, it is. Sometimes we use it, sometimes we don't. So that's an example on where this particular item could be furthered more. So that's sort of the intent there. But really it's the case of, you know, sometimes something I think is really important and interesting, nobody else does. So that's where democratically I would need to put a notice of motion forward and try to convince my peers that this is a priority and something we need to move on and advance it that way. But the intent would be to introduce something and not to take away from the time that the scheduled time. Also for the public, we published an agenda in advance. So now if we start making decisions on something, what about others that have pros or con view on that? We have denied the public an opportunity to comment on that because we've delayed a decision based on information introduced to us at the outset. The public viewing might think, gee, I wanted to speak on that or write in about that. We've now signed off on whatever. They don't have an opportunity to do that. So while it does seem slow, it's a process that enables everyone an opportunity to speak or write in or feel heard or attend or be present. Otherwise, we're not allowing that opportunity. So you always need to think of who is not at the meeting today, who may have a perspective on that, and are we eliminating them an opportunity to chime in some way? So, but yes, more to come.
Thank you.
The best
That's
way to
good.
do it is just by trying it, right? And then if
Yeah.
if time is a factor, then there could be same day consideration. Yeah, I need this to be heard today. Maybe it's an AVIC resolution, for example. The deadline's closing, we'd have another meeting, something's emerged, I need same day consideration. We still may disagree with you, but then you could take it to AVIC and introduce it there and convince others that it needs same day consideration. The process always allows for those emerging items, you know, but the main thing is it is getting all of us to support that and also understand the capacity of our staff. So verbal updates.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, much appreciate that. The delegation is planting a seed for future thinking. Okay, to you, Madam Mayor. I'll just report that the Victoria Family Court is having its AGM this week. It's now a designated commission of the CRD. We are going to introduce a new approach for members, and that in the effort to get more experienced individuals involved with the family courts and youth in crisis. So that'll be coming forward. I attended along with several of us, the TTAC, orientation at the Gorge Park Pavilion. I met with Reverend Al recently, and Reverend Al, he hosts open houses on his street in where is that? Woodland Creek. And these are twice annual open houses. People come together. It's a very social, it breaks down these bounds of social isolation, builds relationships. And he's keen to see that concept spread throughout Souk. And so I've recommended that he come forward with a delegation to tell us more on the subject. And it does dovetail with emergency services in the neighborhood pod concept. So that was an interesting conversation. He invited me for a coffee to discuss that. I was at a Vancouver Island Library. I asked for a debrief on how the year has gone, and very positive feedback from the community to the new library. I don't know if you're being down in the basement area. The roof is flaking away, and this is a result of birds nesting. Either taking nesting materials or building right into the roofing materials. Fascinating, isn't it? I could go on. And yes, yeah, that's good. I attended the CRD board meeting on your behalf on January 11th. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Bateman. Other updates, Councillor St. Pierre.
Just very quickly, like I think most of the councillors that are in the room at this point attended the mayor's municipal Mondays at 1 o'clock. I would encourage anyone in the audience that wants to have further conversation and put forward their views and be heard to come to municipal Mondays. It was a wonderful opportunity. We had tea, coffee, and not the greatest cookies, but they were there. And a wonderful attendance, lots of opportunities to chat about this stuff. So please, it's obvious that you guys care, you're here. But if you want to come again, Mondays, and just watch for it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pearson, pardon me.
Yes, thank you. And I also attended the mayor's Monday coffee with the mayor, and it was extremely positive in my point of view, from my point of view. I recently attended the Juan de Fuca Water Commission meeting on January the 3rd, which they were happy that Suk was represented. There's 3 returning councillors that have been on that board before: Gord Baird, Gord Baird from the Highlands, who's elected chair, John Rogers from View Royal, and myself. And the new members are Dave Grove from Colwood, Cynthia Harder from Langford, Al Wickham from the Juan de Fuca electoral area. I think it's Marie Wagner from Langford. So and some Donaldson from Mitchell's. So it was interesting, and I've asked staff because there was a fairly significant report that came out to prepare and put it into your mailboxes. I talked to the mayor when I got back because there was an enormous report about a feasibility study that kind of was I wouldn't say shocking to me. It was like, wow, there's an extensive study that had been taking place with servicing North Suk and East Suk. It has a significant impact to Suk, the area. So I provided that in all of your mailboxes. Thank you, Ms. Machada, for getting that so you can peruse it. There were some interesting numbers that came out of that, and not limited to, but I think you guys probably have that. There was, 1,200, 500, 140. There were some significant numbers of proposals on 4 large properties that are contained within that water servicing area. The good and the bad news is that it's $57 million to service that area. So that would be user funded, and you can see some of the costs are at $77,000 per hookup down to $55,000 in different kind of routes. I thought that was an interesting report, and it was commissioned by the outgoing Juan de Fuca Commission, or Juan de Fuca chair, electoral director of Juan de Fuca electoral. Thanks, Councillor McMahon. While I was there, Ian Jesney is the acting chair of the Juan de Fuca Water. And he's only going to be there for about 3 months. He's replacing Ted Robbins, who's been promoted to the CRD, CAO. Mr. Jesney, I asked him, I said, what do you see the biggest risks to the Juan de Fuca water? And he basically said aging infrastructure, which is ongoing for some of the water district. Infrastructure has been in place for 80 years in some cases, not all. Fairly significant approach to replacing asbestos concrete pipes throughout the region, and making sure that they're staying caught up. Some good work has been done on emergency preparedness that when I was there last time, which was 4 years ago, they've got some significant plans in place in the event of catastrophic failure of the system, i.e. an earthquake, setting up watering stations and things. And I think the mayor will recall, as an example, we would have a giant bladder system set up down at the Souk Arena. We think it's central, but it's also central to the infrastructure. It seems that the engineering studies have said that is a very low risk area from an earthquake point of view. So hopefully we could set up water filling stations for an emergency situation. Other than that, nothing else to report from the Wandafuka Water Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Others, Councillor Lajeunesse?
Yeah, just whoops, I'm gonna be brief today. Let's see. Attended the SIP Municipal Partners meeting, that's South Island Prosperity Partnership, along with the mayor. BC Hydro had turned my power off that day, and so I attended the meeting via Zoom on my phone in my car. But it was basically a bit of an update on what they're doing and their plans for the coming year. I attended the Souk housing. What is it, Jeff? Souk Homeless Coalition meeting. Yes, so excellent work that those folks are doing, and they kind of reiterated that in our cow meeting last week. Also attended the update on the treaty negotiations last weekend, and attended the Regional Water Supply Commission meeting last Wednesday. And I won't repeat everything that was said there because it's much the same as what Councillor Pearson updated us on. And that's it for now.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to those viewing, Councillor Lajeunesse sits on the Water Commission, which is for the region, and then Councillor Pearson sits on the Wandafuka Distribution Branch, which is specific to the Wandafuka, which is why the members are just the Wandafuka, those within that area service. Whereas Councillor Lajeunesse is looking at the regional lens and all 13 plus 3 electoral areas. Councillor McMath, any updates? Thank you for being here. Just finally for myself, just Happy New Year to all of you. It's the year of the rabbit, which they say some say it's a year, which is your special lucky year, because when it is your animal year, every 12 years, that year gets better and better and better. So this should be an awesome year for you. And the rabbit is usually one that is a year of fortune and happiness. So I think we could all use that, given I had shared earlier with some that the Economist said this is a year of permacrisis. So I'd rather take the fortuitous happy year over the year of the permacrisis, although we know that there are significant world events occurring. It is also Literacy Week in our schools. So you'll see a lot of, hopefully a lot of uptake at the library and a lot of our school age children carrying books home. I was glad, thank you for staff support, as well as to council and members of the public that joined us on Municipal Monday in our first coffee with council and chambers. We decided to sort of like, let's start here in chambers. It's an accessible space. It's Municipal Hall. Because sometimes when I've been out in the past, you know, you're there and taking up space and nobody's coming. So you're taking up space in a coffee shop from other patrons who you think want to sit with you, but really they just want your table. So let's try to build some momentum here. And there's some events. The March one coincides with spring break. So we thought we would pop over to Broken Hill Park so we could engage with the families and children there. There's also, you know, much like Reverend Al does in Woodland Creek, Sun River does a massive garage sale every year. So maybe there's a way to sort of integrate something. Staff, as you know, in years past have also been at the night market or country market, looking for safe places to be also for our elected body and staff, where we can engage and not take away from something else that's occurring. So those are, you know, it was good to see a strong start to this, so we can continue to build and improve going forward. Excellent turnout at switching over to my Treaty Advisory Committee. More to come into the public realm in the coming months, but glad that we had a good turnout for the elected. I was elected as chair for the advisory committee for the 1 year, so we'll see how that shapes out over the years. On another note, as you may know, I applied to fill a vacancy on the UBCM executive. After the election, 3 sitting executive members were not reelected, so the board had vacancy. And there was also some changes from the area associations. So I put my name forward because I have experience and familiarity with the process. So I have been selected to fill a space there. So I'll be going tomorrow morning to my first online meeting and back to executive meetings. My intent is not to run again in the fall. I'm simply bringing some experience to fill a space there and to provide some, because a lot of the board is new. So that's coming up again in February. I'm a director at large. Yeah, but I have been appointed to the President's Committee, Resolutions, and Community Dev. So, you know, that's okay. So it's 4 committees at the CRD and chair, and I have also asked, I haven't asked, but for the Transit Commission, as you know, on the West Shore, I was taking one of the 2 seats there. I did reapply to that. They asked me to consider sitting, and then they sent me the application form. So in the time that I had, I submitted what I could, and we'll see what happens. It's ultimately up to our peers in the province, or I don't like to say they're senior government because we're all government, to make that decision. So we'll see what happens there. I'd like to congratulate the Lions. They held their hard time dance. I heard it was sold out. It went very well attended. I was unable to go, but it was nice to see that event come back and to see good turnout there. Also for the world of minor hockey, the coaches versus the U18 held their game at Sea Park on Friday. I tried to go with my son. We couldn't find parking anywhere. It was sold out, massive fundraiser, huge success, packed, and sadly missed out on it completely, which was too bad. But it's the way it is. I'm glad it was a successful evening for those in minor hockey. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for filling in at the CRD last committee of the whole and some other pieces. Just to share, it's been a weird year because on the day, the 2 weeks, it kind of blurs together. Unfortunately, my son tripped and broke his arm. And then later that night, my father went to emergency in an ambulance as he had a severe heart attack. So both are mending well. My father's now back at home today, and my son is mending, although no hockey, but he is healing quickly and learning to manage with his non-dominant hand. I know that we hear a lot about the collapsing medical system, and it is busy for sure. However, the staff and the attention that you receive when you're admitted is phenomenal, and they're excellent. They're really doing a good job in there. I know that it sounds sometimes like it's terrible, but having been in and out on the inside, from the ambassadors to the people cleaning to all the nurses, call 911 call takers, our emergency response, as well as the paramedics, exceptional all the way through, even from the 911 call when I was freaking out, but it was all good. So it was just okay, not how I wanted to start the year, but so it goes. So thank you to everyone for holding things together in that time period. And clearly you can do so well without me, which is awesome. And then I think that's all I have. More to come. So on that note, I have nothing else to report except to all wish you, I've decided I'm focusing on equinox will be the start of my new year, because this year has just been not starting. So I figure if I focus on the spring equinox date, that gives me plenty of time to get everything I was supposed to do last year and the start of this year finished, and then I can start it then. But that's just my personal New Year piece, which you probably are wondering why I'm blathering on about it. So I'll stop talking. So on that note, I will just call for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Pearson. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here today. I wish you